Hi, and welcome to Healing Peak Regenerative Medicine's Longevity Channel. And today we're going to talk about arthritis. And, what is it? And, it's such a common word. It's like we all kind of just know what it is because it happens when we get older. But, what actually is arthritis and how does it happen? And how can we prevent it from happening or stop it from progressing? And so I actually brought you guys a little prop today. And this is my fun arthritis prop, and we are going to go, well, here you can see the first stages, and then as it progresses to the last stage of arthritis, there are 3 stages, and I'm going to go through them one by one. So this is particularly related to the spine. These are vertebra, and then discs in your spine, and the little yellow part sticking out there are nerves coming out of the spinal cord. And that was looking at you from the front, and this is looking at you from the back. And so what happens with arthritis? Well, we actually know that sitting is the new smoking. And this is something that the chiropractor I work with says all the time. And it really is true. If you don't move it, you lose it. And so if you sit or stand or stay in any one position for longer than 3 hours, then arthritis starts to set in. And the damage is irreversible at that point. And so, well, we'll talk about how to reverse it. But the things you have to do to reverse it are significant and difficult. And so the number one thing that you can do to help stop arthritis and prevent it from happening even more is every single hour get up and move, take a little walk. It doesn't have to be crazy. It could be to the bathroom or around the perimeter of your house or around the block. It doesn't have to be a huge movement, but it does need to be some kind of movement, to make sure that you are moving those joints and getting the fluid moving. And I'll explain that in just a second. So these are your discs here. These discs actually give nutrients to the osteocytes in the bone. And what happens with sitting for prolonged periods of time is that the disc, and this is actually true of every joint in the body, but it's called synovial fluid. So the disc is kind of like synovial fluid for other joints in the body, like the knee or the shoulder, for example. And so actually the discs are actually giving nutrients to the bones. And when you sit for long periods of time, repeatedly, the discs will start to lose their height. And that's the first stage of arthritis. And so you can see in this model, and I'll hold them up both for you so that we can compare them, this one has a shorter disc height. And when that happens, the disc is not as springy and it can't get cerebral spinal fluid into the disc, which is going to give nutrients to the bones. And when that stress starts to happen, you're also not getting rid of waste. So when you create metabolism in anything, you will have energy, and then you'll have waste, always. And so the joint can't number one, can't get nutrients, and number two, it can't get rid of waste, which creates inflammation inside the joint. And that inflammation is actually what starts to cause arthritis. And so then, once there's been long-term chronic stress where the joint is no longer getting all the nutrients it needs and also not able to get rid of waste because the whole system also works on a pumping system. So if you're not moving, then the cerebral spinal fluid is not moving through the disc and, through your knees and all that stuff. Like the joint needs to move in order to operate correctly. And if the joint doesn't move, then the right metabolism in the joint no longer functions correctly. And so what you can imagine is once this disc height in stage 1 has happened or shortened, then over a period of time you're going to start to get this situation, which is bony changes, because the bones, one, are sitting in their own pee and poop essentially, and they're also not getting nutrients as well as they did, when everything looked like this. And so when you start to get these bony changes, it's very difficult to reverse it, but there are different things that we can do to help decrease the inflammatory process as well, natural things we can do to decrease the inflammatory process that causes pain, and also, try to stop that inflammatory process from making it worse. But ultimately, your bones have changed. And so at that point, we're really just trying to mitigate the functional issues and the pain that the person is in at that point. And so then lastly, we get this step. And this is the last stage of arthritis, and you can see that you can barely see the discs. They're almost complete. Disc is almost completely gone, and there are a lot more bony changes here in the spine. This guy's broken, so don't actually look at that. But you can also see in the front these bony changes. And so I just wanted to talk about like how this works, why we need to be aware of it, what we can do to change these things. And primarily is if you don't move it, you lose it. So every single hour, without, missing a beat, make sure you move. It's not like you can go, walk for 30 minutes and the rest of the day you're going to sit in front of your computer. It doesn't work that way. You have to move regularly and repeatedly. And so I think we have this idea like, oh, well, I worked out and so I did my movement for today, but it's like you got to keep on moving. So get some water, go to the bathroom, walk around your house, take a break, whatever, set an alarm on your phone if you can't remember, but make sure that every single hour you are doing something to get up and move around so that your body has an ability to get the nutrients into the discs and then into your osteophytes. That all happens with movement, and it's really the only thing we know for sure that happens and prevents that arthritis from actually occurring in the first place. So the same thing is true for knee joints and shoulder joints, hand joints, everything, right? You want to keep those joints moving because they all have synovial fluid, which is similar to how the disc gives nutrients to the vertebra, but the synovial fluid is what gives nutrients to the joint itself and then also takes the waste out of the joint. And so that would act similarly, and moving your whole body is really important, not just one part of your body. So shaking it out, doing some jumping jacks, just getting everything kind of fluid and flowing for a few minutes every hour is really going to make a massive difference in stopping the progression of arthritis, not allowing it to start in the first place. And, the other things that we can do are to help reverse arthritis and stop that pain in its tracks is prolotherapy and PRP. Prolotherapy goes into the knee joint and parts of the spine as well, and actually stops that progression of arthritis, which you'll see here, because actually instability happens once the bony changes start happening, instability in the joint happens. So there's these, there's ligaments that go here as well as in the back here between the bones. And once you start to get these bony changes, you start to get unstable. And once you're unstable, then the muscles have to try to stabilize instead. Muscles are not meant to be stabilizers. They're meant to be movers. And so then you get this chronic tension and chronic pain because your muscles are doing something they were never meant to do, and the ligaments can't stabilize. And prolotherapy and PRP can help re-stabilize the joint. They're likely not going to take away these bony changes, but they can get you years and years and years out of your spine. You're likely not going to have back surgery. There isn't really a lot of back surgery is sort of a toss-up if it's going to help or not. But with knee surgery and things like that, you're pretty much in for a replacement, and that's it. So, or you're getting cortisone injections, and there are videos on cortisone injections and kind of my thoughts on that. But the point being that if you're in this place and you're experiencing pain, one, start moving regularly, even if you're in pain, it will help. And two, take some naturopathic supplements, consult a naturopathic doctor to help mitigate the inflammatory process and arthritic issues that are going on in your body. And three, seek out prolotherapy or platelet-rich plasma injections so that you can get some more stability in the joint so your muscles can relax, the arthritis stops, and you can actually do the things you love again without pain. Or you can get up in the morning and be like, oh, that feels good. I'm not stiff. That's what prolotherapy and PRP can do for all joints. So anyway, that is my tidbit for today. Get out there, get moving, and I will see you guys next week. Take care. If you like my video, please subscribe or share to anyone you know who is in pain from arthritis. They could probably really use this information. Thanks a lot.